Hello, hello, and welcome to this episode of the Nerds of the North podcast. Today, we're going to be discussing the most recent film in the MCU, the Black Widow movie, the long awaited Black Widow movie. How long have you been seeing advertisements for this film before it finally freaking came out? But as always, I'm host number one, Matt, and joining me today, as always, is host number two,
Nick.
And it sounds like we might already have some possible disagreements regarding
Wait,
this movie.
I was like, you don't trust my name is Nick?
Yeah. Wait, what, did you say something to accept Nick? I totally tuned out. I was like, let's get to fighting. I'm listening to my dogs zooming. But yes. So Nick, tell me, what did you think about the Black Widow movie?
Honestly, I thought it was probably bottom tier. I'd say I'd put it on the level of maybe like Ant-Man and the Wasp or Avengers Age of Ultron or Thor the Dark World, but honestly, I think it's my least favorite of all of them because I think all those these other ones actually had something memorable about them. I think this one was just not good. It didn't have anything going for it except for maybe the humor aspect of it. But that's what my thought is initially. But you can maybe convince me otherwise. I don't know. I just didn't think it was very good. I didn't like at the end of it, I felt like, oh, it's over. Okay.
I feel like I think there's an unfair thing happening with this movie, and I think it's just based entirely off of when it's coming out. Not only when it's coming out, like the year and a half, 2 years of hype that have built up to this movie actually freaking releasing, because it was supposed to come out in May of 2020, and it only just came out in 2021. What, August, early August?
July.
So July, yeah, July. So like,
Matt, what month are we in?
oh yeah, sorry.
I think because you're moving, you're like you think you're already like in August.
I know. I'm already thinking August.
Yeah.
But yeah, like there a ton of time has passed since this movie like came into our periphery for us to be excited for it. And I will say that I was more excited for the release of this movie. We're not really post COVID, but we're like post-ish COVID, in the US anyway. And like looking at what's going on in the US now, like I was way more excited for this movie coming out than I was back then initially, back in 2020, or even like earlier in 2019 when I knew it was coming. I was like, I don't know about this Black Widow movie. And I think it was just the timing of it after Endgame and everything. But yeah, no, like I thought it was a good movie. And I think the other unfortunate thing that's going on with the timing of it is that actually in the movie takes place after the events of Civil War, which is not what I was expecting. I don't know what your expectation was. I kind of kept myself relatively blind to this movie outside of some of the like maybe one or two trailers I watched and the fact that I knew it was going to be a Black Widow film. Um, but I thought it was going to be a prequel. I thought this was going to be like a pre-Avengers, pretty much everything. Natasha like becoming Black Widow more or less. I didn't really think it was going to be an actual like mid Avengers, mid MCU film, but maybe.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons why I didn't really care for this movie. I'm just gonna try and list off some maybe that I can think of. I don't. The spy genre has never really been a favorite of mine. I just don't really. It doesn't resonate with me very much. The Black Widow character has never really been a character that has really resonated with me. Like I liked her when the Russos directed her. Like I think she finally started to work for me in The Winter Soldier, and I liked her in Civil War the best. Probably those two films I liked her the best in.
Sure.
I don't feel like I really learned that much more about her from this film, and it's her own film. Like I feel like she was kind of overshadowed by the world building, which is weird because I usually really like world building, but again, I'm not a spy movie guy.
Sure.
Um, I mean, the one thing I think that they kind of, I, the one thing I think they could have done that was really interesting, what they did do when she basically made the decision to kill the daughter of, I want to say his name's Sarkov. I can't remember. Like
Yeah.
the head of the Red Room or whatever it's called. Like that was a kind of a cool decision, but of course they reeled it back. Like somehow he actually survived. Somehow the daughter survived,
Mhm.
and I don't know. Like that just didn't really, that they didn't really build off that. And then like we, one other thing actually really that I didn't like was David Harbour's character, though he was hilarious. What's his name? Like the Red Guardian, I think something like that.
Yeah, the Red Guardian.
He uh he was just
Or
a buffoon. He had no scene where I'm like, oh look at, like he's really strong actually. You know, he's just made fun of the entire time. Like I was expecting something to come from that, but it never, nothing really happened. And then when the movie ends, it just kind of ends. Like they just go off with the other Black Widows, like her new family, and then it's just kind of like, oh well, guess it's over. And we know she dies, right? We know Black Widow dies. She
Mhm.
dies in Endgame. Spoilers, but I can't foresee if you're watching this. And
What are you doing?
yeah, if you're watching this, I'm assuming that you have some sort of knowledge of the Marvel universe, like to listen to some a hole like me just blah, 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 on for hours about this stuff. But um, like there was no sense of like I there was they were not building up to her death at all. Like I
Mhm.
said, it just kind of ends. Like there's no like, oh no, like this is the last moment that she's gonna see her family or I didn't feel that at all. I never felt anything except I laughed a few times.
Mhm.
And like Marvel gets criticized a lot for inserting humor into kind of emotional moments to kind of like downplay it.
Mhm.
And honestly, I that's never really bugged me until this movie. But there was a few scenes in this movie where I just kind of like, man, I wish they would just let the scene play out and actually let what happened to the Black Widows, I mean, resonate a little bit.
Mhm.
I mean, I think that's perfectly exemplified in that end credits scene where like you have uh her sister, Yelena, I believe her name is. She's at Black Widow's grave
Mhm.
in the middle of nowhere, America, like the Midwest, I think. And somehow they have her body. We don't know how we have her body, but she's buried there.
Well, I
And
mean, they might not necessarily have her body, but there's a headstone,
there's a
certainly.
headstone, but she's mourning that moment. I was actually kind of like feeling, I'm like, oh, that's kind of actually sad in this moment. But then like you have uh the character Julia Louis Dreyfus, she shows up and like starts honking her nose.
Mhm.
And I don't know, like there's something about this movie I just did not care for. And you're right, it didn't come out at the right time. It does seem like it literally feels like it should have come out right after Civil War, but the fact is that it didn't. Like the Infinity Saga is over. I think
Mhm.
the movie needs to acknowledge that on some level, but I don't think it really does.
Mhm.
It just kind of like, oh, well, I guess we should have made this movie back then, and that's where it should have gone. But no, I guess not. You know, I don't know.
Mhm.
I just was not a fan of this film. There was no redeeming quality. Well, there was redeeming qualities. I don't want to say that, but I just did not like it. I guess there's positives of it. I can list off what I think was good,
Mhm. Sure,
but
by all means.
overall, yeah, I would put this on the same level as Ant Man and the Wasp. I think maybe a little lower than that for me even, because yeah, these two movies just didn't work for me.
Mhm.
This movie specifically didn't work for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I rather enjoyed it. Like I enjoyed getting to see Natasha in an environment outside of being a part of the Avengers. Like, and I thought getting a little bit more background into the Red Room and what happened with her family. Her family, like we learned somewhat early on that like those aren't really her parents. They were Russian operatives that were posing as her parents for a mission that they were on in the US at the time. And but yeah, like I found the story very interesting. I thought all the performances were pretty good. Like I think the I think the casting for David Harbour in this role honestly played really strongly to his style. Like he he's I'm sure a lot of people are probably familiar with David Harbour. Like I know for me personally, David Harbour, his performances for me exist almost exclusively from Stranger Things. And like he's definitely a very similar type of character in Stranger Things. Like he's very capable, but he's still kind of a goof. Like he's serious and he takes himself pretty seriously, but he's still kind of a goof character, especially when you get him to like try and deal with his emotions in a constructive way. And his portrayal of Red Guardian is very similar in that regard. Like he takes his title of the Red Guardian very seriously, what he represented for Russia at the time, very seriously. But like all in all, like he kind of threw that all away for his patriotism and getting thrown off into prison and not exactly taking very good care of himself either over that time. But yeah, I thought his performance was really great. I really think Scarlett Johansson knocked it out of the park, and I immensely enjoyed Yelena. Like, I thought she was pretty funny. Like, I think as far as a what appears to be an evil equivalent to Black Widow being introduced into the MCU, like we're definitely seeing Dreyfus's character that we were introduced to
Yeah.
in the
I'm thinking,
shows of the MCU.
just trying to remember her name. It's like Valentina something.
Yeah. Here, let's do our due diligence here. Dreyfus Marvel.
Yeah, I mean, and I agree with you. I think the acting was all really well done. Like, I don't think ScarJo, she's just improved and improved throughout her career, and she's really turned into a great actress.
Mhm.
I mean, she's come a long way from like Eight-Legged Freaks days, you know.
Yes.
But and David Harbour, of course, like he was hysterical. Like I laughed pretty much every word he said was funny. And yeah, I mean, I totally agree. Yelena is the best thing to come out of this movie, which is important because I feel like she's being set up as like the new legacy Black Widow. But I just never think this movie ever got greater than the sum of its parts. But
No, like I think, and I think that's the unfortunate thing about this movie is I think there are a lot of very strong parts of this movie. Like I think the casting was really good. I think the performances were really good. But yeah, it's just a timing thing. Like doing this right after Endgame and doing this, what would have been this movie would have come out after Ant-Man 2.
no, this one, no. But like timeline
Or
wise,
like just like for us, right? Like
this one would have come out after Spider-Man 2. And that character's name is Valentina
I mean,
Allegra de Fontaine.
like I guess I'm just thinking, yeah, like timeline wise, I guess. But
Yeah, I think timeline wise, this will come out after Civil War.
yeah, it's like
Yeah.
But regardless, like I just think that because you're right, yeah, like the Infinity Stone saga, the Infinity Saga is done. Like that story has come and gone, and bringing back Black Widow for this last hurrah, I think was really fun. I really enjoyed seeing her in this and like getting to get that kind of last taste of this because I think Black Widow was owed a movie a long time ago. in the MCU cinematic universe. Like, um, but it took so long to finally get there, and they even didn't even really put it in a time frame where it really would have mattered that much either. Like, it happened after her whole saga was done. Her movie didn't come out until she was dead, technically, in the actual film franchise. So it feels a little cheap in that regard. But I think this movie ends up being in the same like weird gray area as like Rogue One in terms of importance, because with a small, well, I wouldn't say even say small, with like a pretty huge exception with Yelena and the part that she's going to play in the Hawkeye show coming out Disney Plus. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
no,
I think also the third act I thought was incredibly weak. Like it was just CGI crap, which I don't know. I think if they were gonna go like Jason Bourne, they should have just gone with it. Like why have all this CGI stuff? I don't know.
I mean, I really don't think we can get too mad at this movie for CGI
I
when
can because it wasn't believable to me. I never thought I don't know.
because look at WandaVision, look at Loki, look at
Well,
Iron
I was
Man,
gonna bring that up
Thor.
too. I actually think this movie may have suffered in comparison because those TV shows have been coming out, and I mean, I think WandaVision and Loki were pretty great. One and
Mhm.
even you know what I even like even Falcon and the Winter Soldier is growing on me just because like it was so ridiculous that like
Mhm.
the estimation because I spent so much time thinking about it is growing in my mind. But yeah, I kind of wonder going forward if these MC movies are going to suffer in comparison to the TV shows because the TV shows do really let you
Mhm.
breathe like well, not you breathe. I'm always breathing, hopefully. Well, I'm not. But
But
the
does
MCU can like kind of like take its time, sort of explore, get
mhm.
fan engagement going, like week to week. And
Mhm.
this movie, like, there's nothing really to be engaged with it for me afterwards. What you have is, I think, Yelena. Like, I am curious what they're gonna do with her character. Which honestly, I almost think this movie was almost used more of as a platform to launch Yelena as the new Black Widow, more than like as a character study for our Black Widow, ScarJo Black Widow. Um,
Yeah, I don't know. I think it did a really good job of doing both. Like
See, I
of
disagree. I think it did a pretty good job launching Elena. I don't think it did a very good job with Black Widow, like ScarJo.
mhm.
Really, I think they could have
uh,
explored her past in a way more engaging way than this movie was.
mhm.
But
I don't know. I mean, I would disagree only in that like I felt fulfilled with where they left her at the end of this movie. Like, I don't really know what else, like what other little details, because what happens in the red room seems to be like it's the type of thing that is talked about in hushed whispers and largely you know condemned by every character outside of those who are in control of it. um, but it's not the type of thing that they ever would have probably really put on the big screen in a way that was like super examined or put under a magnifying glass. All we know is that little girls get shoved into the red room and Black Widows come out the other side.
well, I mean, and I honestly thought the most engaging part of the movie, beyond the humor, which I do think the humor was pretty good,
Mhm.
was that opening montage scene with when you kind of like see what the Red Room has been doing to these young girls. I thought that was
Mhm.
pretty engaging and pretty well done. And I kind of wish it would have continued along that vein of being like seriously examining. I mean, do it in a Marvel sort of way, but
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. I don't know. There's like a lot of cool ideas I think that is thrown out in this movie. I just don't think it really came together into something cohesively interesting. And I just don't think I'm going to remember much from it like a year from now. I just don't think I'm going to remember anything from it. It's like Ant-Man and the Wasp. Like literally, I barely remember anything that happened in that movie. You know,
See, I don't know. Like,
or
I
Thor:
think,
Dark World. I barely remember that film.
oh yeah, no, like, see, that's where I would staunchly disagree with you. Is your placement of this movie, like
What would you?
ratings
Where would you
wise?
put it on? Like as far as your scale of MCU
Well, on
like
a small
hierarchy?
scale, like I think there is some room for discussion in terms of like the small scale of it. Because if we compare this to movies of a similar caliber or vibe, I guess, I think a good place to do that would be with the Captain America movies, um, specifically the Winter Soldier, because like that is kind of the MCU's spy movie, right? Like that is 100% their spy movie,
Which is a great film. And like
which
I
is a
don't
great
usually
film.
like spy movies or stuff like that, but
Mhm.
that movie was so good that it made me like it. You know?
And I honestly think Winter Soldier is still a better spy movie, but I put it very close in terms of rating to that movie.
To Winter Soldier.
Yeah, 100%. Like,
Wow. Yeah.
because
No,
I
I
think
mean
it
I
had
think
a,
that the relationship that was built between Bucky and Captain America, like I think that was really well paid off in that film. Like in the action scenes in Winter Soldier, they're really they're pretty intense. And there's some pretty iconic moments in that film, like Captain America and the elevator. You know,
mhm,
no,
yeah.
I heavily disagree with you on that one. This movie is like nowhere near the quality of that film. I even like Civil War a lot.
Mhm.
I really like Civil War. I don't know. I
But
guess that wasn't in the conversation, but
no, yeah, like I think they did a really good job of like they did a good job of fleshing out Natasha enough for the time being, or like for what was appropriate given the timeline of things. Because going into a huge deep dive on her character would have been really cool. Um, However, she's gone, and so now
yeah, I
it's
just feel like
Yelena's story to tell.
they didn't have the balls to like actually make her a villain because she is kind of villainous. She like what? She has like a bunch of red ink in her ledger. Like yeah, she did that one thing that she regretted, but like I don't feel like it really truly explored how that affected her, and then she kind of got let off the hook for it at the end. Because like really, what she did was pretty terrible. Like she basically killed this little girl to get out of this program, you know?
Well, she
So
killed a little girl and her father, primarily her father, to end the Red Room program to protect other little girls moving forward. Like that was her goal with that
yeah.
assassination attempt.
Well, I mean, to say you primarily kill someone over the other is funny to say, but it obviously didn't work. I mean, he was still around. And if she
Oh
cared
yeah.
so much, why didn't she come back for her sister? You know?
Mhm. See, I think that's one of the weaker points is her not pursuing where her sister was. But like also to be fair, their entire family was fake to begin with. Like her and her sister were close as children for sure. But the whole premise for them being a family in the first place was a fabrication anyway. One that Natasha at the time was aware of, and one that her sister was not, if memory serves. So it's like, what exactly is her motivation to go seek out? It's like, let me go find my sister that I have no idea where she is or how I would find her. Um, who's not really my sister, and whom I only like vaguely had a relationship for 3 years with as a child, you know, like
Hmm.
as an adult. Like, what
Yeah, I mean,
exactly are her
I don't
motivations there?
think the movie really would agree with what you're saying though. Like I do think she cared about her sister and she obviously
Mm,
cared about her enough to team up with her and have sisterly moments throughout the film,
mm,
you know? So she
yeah.
obviously
Well,
cared,
and
but
she, oh yeah, no, like I have
and I'm
no
not
doubt in my
trying to
mind that
defend
she.
this fictional character. But I just think I don't know. I just didn't like it. I didn't the Taskmaster,
Mhm.
we could talk about that too. I thought actually for what it's worth, I thought when they first introduced that character, like you could tell there was some intensity in that. It's kind of like when the character's on screen, um there was some intensity there. It kind of reminds me of like the Mortal Kombat movie, which we just talked about a few months ago, which was infinitely better than this film, I might add.
But you think Mortal Kombat was better than Black
Yes,
Widow?
I
Get
do.
the fuck out of here. You're out of your mind if
I'm
you
not,
think
as far as entertainment value, yes, it was infinitely better than this film.
I think you're
Kano
staunchly
versus
wrong.
Red Guardian. Kano would be my choice.
I think that movie's dog shit by comparison. But
Oh,
okay.
really? No, I totally
Yes.
disagree. I totally disagree, and I would base it entirely on entertainment value. I feel like this movie didn't have much entertainment value.
Mhm.
Kind of lost my point.
But you've talked
Oh,
about how you've enjoyed the humor of the movie, though. Like,
I
is that
did.
not?
Yeah, I
Mhm.
did. I do. There's some. It's like Space Jam. Like there's some things I enjoyed about Space Jam. Like I laughed a few times, but
Mhm.
like at the end of the day, I'm like, this movie is like so transparent and what I don't know. Um, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, we're talking about Taskmaster. I don't know. I wasn't the one thing I didn't like about that character, which I thought was like a huge missed opportunity, was like literally it was supposed to be able to mimic all these different fighting styles. They never
Mhm.
really used that. Even like when Red Guardian was taking on the Taskmaster,
Mhm.
you would think that the Taskmaster that would have been like a moment where like, oh, Taskmaster knows Captain America's moves or something, but they
Mhm.
never did anything with that, which I thought was a huge missed opportunity. But I will say when she takes the helmet off, like there that was pretty interesting just seeing her face. I thought the pheromone thing was pretty stupid. I also thought it was incredibly stupid when Black Widow just like smashed her head against the table and like took out her olfactory nerve or whatever. Like that was just dumb. I
I
didn't
don't
like
know.
that.
I think that feels very much in line with like what a spy movie would do, especially like more of an action-oriented spy movie.
I guess, but it just seems like something like she could have done like a long time ago.
I mean, she didn't know she, you know,
I don't know.
because she
It just seems
like
kind of
this.
too convenient to me.
It harkens way back to the first Avengers movie when she's playing with Loki, playing pretend that, being a scared woman in Loki's presence, getting the information she wanted out of him.
I mean, I don't disagree. I like the scene in that regard, like that she's can
Mhm.
play it up, but I just didn't like the whole olfactory nerve thing. I thought it was kind of dumb. But
No, like I thought that was a cool addition. Like, um, no, and like honestly, I think my biggest gripes with this movie are generally with Taskmaster, only in that I think Taskmaster could have been a better utilized villain moving forward. And maybe she can. I mean, I guess if you're listening to this, spoilers, Taskmaster is a woman in this movie. Taskmaster is generally a man in the comics. The origin story is very, very different from the comics, as far as I'm aware. My knowledge of Taskmaster is quite limited, so you have to forgive me there. But my understanding of him is that he's basically he's a child savant in that he's basically a perfect mimic. And there's some funny like anecdotal stories I was reading of like how he um, watched an Olympic diver, and learned how to dive perfectly, but he didn't watch someone to learn how to swim. So he does a perfect dive, 10 out of 10 dive, and then he starts drowning like as soon as he hits the water. Like the shit like that. Like I thought that was very entertaining to read about. But and there is a place for her in largely in the MCU still because she survives the events of the movie. Um, so I'm excited to see what they do with her. I really hope they give her kind of a almost Deadpool-esque place, kind of like more of a comedic relief type thing at some point. It certainly didn't set her up that way because Taskmaster is like kind of snarky in that way. Generally, he's more of an entrepreneur than anything. He thought about becoming a superhero and then decided against it. He's like, crime will pay better. Like,
well, that story sounds infinitely more interesting than what we got to me at least. And I also didn't like when she like Black Widow like cures her of being brainwashed, and she, just like that red mist comes out. Like I just thought it was too easy. I kind of wish she would have been like, "You killed my father," or you know, you're the cause of all my pain in my life. Like maybe it's not true, but I think it would have been more interesting that she would blame Black Widow for that instead of just been like, "Oh, you know, I don't know." I just it was too simplistic to me. Like I don't know.
I don't know. No, like I thought I really didn't have any issues with the narrative beats of this movie. There wasn't anything that really immediately made me jump up and go, "Hey, I don't like that." You know, like I thought like as far as superhero movies go, like there wasn't anything that immediately was like, "Really? What?" Like maybe you can clear this up for me. This was something that kind of struck me as strange. Um the end of the very end of the movie, not the credits or anything. Your hair's fine. Uh,
It's just,
um, uh, Natasha essentially just waits for Ross and his troops to show up
I
to
didn't
kind of
understand
like
that easy either. If you're gonna ask me how she
arrest
got out of
her
that, I have no idea.
because from what we understand, right, like timeline wise, like Civil War happens, this movie happens, and then supposedly she gets taken captive by Ross. And then really the next time we see Romanov is at like the mid, like a third of the way through Infinity War when she shows up with oh
Yeah.
wait, yeah.
Well, I think the end of this movie implies that she's about to go break Captain America out of, or not Captain America, but some probably Hawkeye and Ant Man and Falcon out of that island prison.
You see, but like that is directly contradicted by
Her getting picked up by Ross.
well, her getting picked up by Ross, and not only that, but like we see Steve in that prison at the end of Civil War. Like that's
I
the
don't,
after.
I don't
Yeah,
think so. I
yeah.
think he
You
walks off with
100%
Bucky.
do. You
Doesn't
see
he walk off with
Steve,
Bucky?
or maybe it's not. No, that was Falcon and the Winter Soldier where he runs out with Bucky. Civil War, we see him in the raft. He like steps out of the shadow or like and is in the prison going to rescue the crew.
Yeah, I don't know. I could be totally off base on this, but for some reason I thought the last time we saw Captain America and Bucky was them leaving Iron Man in that old abandoned super soldier
Oh yeah, so they do
lab.
leave him there, but the last time we actually see Steve in that movie is in the raft. Like he's essentially rescuing the others from the prison. Because
Yeah,
the
I'd have
moment
to
when that
go back. I don't remember that, but yeah, I
the,
totally believe you. I totally believe you. I just don't remember.
yeah, because Tony's listening to the recorded message that Steve left for him. Like that's
Yeah, I
when that
remember
moment
that.
happens. But but yeah, like that scene, we don't see Natasha at all, and there's really like nothing that would lead me to believe necessarily that Natasha's
Well,
there.
she has that jet, right? So she gets a jet from that random guy,
Mhm.
which I like that Marvel essentially cast that guy just so he could be like a red herring for who's actually playing Taskmaster.
Mhm.
But yeah, she goes off in the I think Quinjet, right? That's what it's called, which I believe is the jet that she's using in like the Captain America Falcon, and she's using that
Mhm.
in Infinity War when they
I'm
pick up.
not like more of a nitpicky thing. I'm not sure if it's technically a Quinjet because Quinjets, I believe, are technically like Stark's invention that he
Oh,
uses with the
I mean,
Avengers.
I could be. Yeah, I'm not
But it
gonna
is a
die on that hill.
futuristic jet. Yeah, like that's
It's a jet.
nitpicky as fuck.
It's a
But
jet.
like
Yeah.
it's a jet that, and I think you're right. I think it's the same jet that they're using in Infinity War when they show up to assist Wanda and Vision.
But yeah, but it doesn't really explain how she gets out of being in captivity, or how she get when she get at the end of the film when she gets taken up by Ross, how she got out of that. Doesn't really explain that, I don't think, right? I don't think so.
No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, we're just kind of led to believe that she escapes, which I mean is entirely possible. I mean, she tricks Ross pretty early on in the movie. And so I don't really know what the explanation is there. I kind of the way they end this movie, it almost feels like they want to set up another Black Widow film that like would lead to the beginning of Infinity War. Like, and I don't think that's on the table at this point. Like we've seen the lineup of movies and shows coming out that Disney's and Marvel are doing. So that's not really a thing.
Yeah, I don't. If anything, I feel like they're setting up a. If they're going to set up a new Black Widow movie, it's going to be with Yelena.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like she's coming back in the Hawkeye show that's coming out later this year.
Yeah, which I'm very excited to see her because I think her and Clint are going to have a very fun relationship with one another after they're done trying to kill one another inevitably.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be kind of, I think it's going to be a lot like Wanda and Clint's relationship, like kind of more of like a mentoring father type figure too, you know, someone who like Yelena is very much kind of a blank slate, you know, she she was an etch a sketch that's been freshly shaken and she's ready for imprinting of new ideas and thoughts. She knows her Black Widow programming and she knows like what her family taught her, you know, Natasha and company. But like outside of that, she doesn't really know like what she wants to do or like what her life is. And so when Valentina gives her, you know, the info like, oh, this guy's responsible for your sister's death. It's like, oh, how convenient a mission for the person with no purpose in life. Like,
yeah, and it does seem like she had been working for Valentina for a while. Like she knew who she
mhm,
was, and this
right.
was apparently supposed to be the first introduction of that character, but obviously that's not how that played out with COVID.
Yeah, I actually think that this introduction of Valentina was, I mean, it was like Louis Dreyfus's like it was the most like her way of being introduced as this character, like just kind of this like outlandish and brash entrance into the show or into this universe, blowing her nose and going like, oh, sorry. like like it's just really funny to me. Um, I think it I think that would have landed home a lot better with me than in Falcon and the Winter Soldier when she's just like, "Hey, hi, how are you?" You know, he just kind
Hmm.
of shows up.
Yeah,
But
well, I am liking that sort of through line right now. Like I do really like John Walker's character. I think he's pretty interesting, and Yelena's really interesting too. So I think if they are forming like the Thunderbolts or whatever that they're doing, like I'm digging it so far. I like what they've done with it. Kind of curious what they're how they're going to incorporate them in, or what they're gonna become a team. So
yeah, I'm just so curious about where they're going with all like where where the Disney Plus shows are going to meet the films because I'm assuming that's going to happen at some point.
yeah,
Um,
I mean I mean we haven't really gotten many films yet since the Disney Plus show started. We're getting Shang-Chi, and the Eternals, which to me don't really seem like they would really fit in with the shows at all. They seem like kind of their own thing a little bit, you know.
no, for
Um,
sure. Yeah,
but
like
Spider-Man, I think, could definitely like kind of like if it is what everyone says it is, and we are going to get like Tobey Maguire coming in and Andrew Garfield as other versions of Spider-Man from the past. I think that definitely plays into like the whole Loki, uh,
mhm.
the multiverse is now, free of the control of he who remains. I think that definitely plays into it. And also what if is another, because I was kind of thinking about it because when you think about the actual when this would have happened, it would have been right after the first Avengers in the timeline. So
Mhm.
the universe has been free of he who remains control for a little while now, actually, right?
Right.
If I'm not mistaken. Which is kind of weird when you try to think about it like I am right now. I'm like, well, was it okay? Maybe that's why they could do all this weird like timeline jumping in
That's true, actually.
Endgame.
Yeah, that would that would kind of explain like why the TVA has never or like wasn't immediately on the scene with like Gamora like seemingly coming from the past, Thanos coming from the past.
Well, I mean, technically, Loki would have been coming from that past at the same
Right?
time.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
it's very confusing.
yeah.
Wibbly
But
wobbly, timey wimey.
I'm fine with it. Like that kind of stuff. I'm like, I can just like, yeah, whatever. I don't really care.
Mhm.
But
Like,
yeah, I'm really, honestly, like I wrote this big long blog on the finale of Loki, and it kind of like made me kind of recontextualize what happened. And I
mhm,
do think they're setting up like Secret Wars essentially, and
mhm,
um, I'm hoping that what's gonna happen. I know I brought up this theory before, is that they do kind of have like almost like a like they bring in Fox's X-Men like for Secret Wars essentially, um, and then like our MCU almost has to like duke it out with like these other multiverses. So
mhm.
and then like by the end of it, they can kind of like become one timeline again. And I'm kind of curious, like if what Feige's doing, Kevin Feige, who is the head of Marvel Studios, if he's not kind of setting up his end game, his own end game, like his out, like because maybe by
Right.
the end of this, like I mean, after Phase 4 and 5, he can't do this for the rest of his life. I'm sure. Maybe
Mhm.
he's like, well, at the end of this, like we'll have all of our characters back essentially, and I'll hand it over to someone new. But what he's doing right now is like it's amazing. Like, yeah,
Oh yeah.
I didn't like Black Widow. Like, there's been a few missteps, but overall, he's just done an incredible job. Like, essentially making a universe, a multiverse. So it's
Mhm.
insane. I'm like the one thing I'm like, oh yeah, they're like, because there's rumors Chris Evans he's gonna come back as Captain America at some point. I'm like, what
Mhm.
if he comes back as a Human Torch? There's nothing stopping that at this point.
That would be so funny.
I would love it in a way, like because we don't really. It's like, oh, what if Ben Affleck comes back as Daredevil? Which why don't they have the Daredevil movies on Disney Plus? I'm kind of curious why that is. This movie's just like a dustbin
Oh yeah, the Ben Affleck.
in yeah, sorry, Elektra. you know,
I
with
mean, I think they
Jennifer
would
Gardner.
rather leave that one in the bin, quite
Well, they have those
frankly.
awful Fantastic Four movies on there.
I mean, yeah, but none of those have potential future talent that actually want.
Um,
uh, but no, yeah, like I think it would be, oh man, wouldn't it be so cool? We get a new Avengers and then we get an Avengers versus the X-Men movie.
I mean, I don't like no one's really theorized about that. Really, like I don't see that online too often. Like people are so excited about Spider-Man, that those actors coming
Mhm,
back. But I'm like, well, what's stopping them from doing X-Men too? Like
mhm,
no one really talks about that. And then like we had Peter Evans come in as kind of like a red herring, but
mhm.
I feel like that was almost like Feige like testing the waters and like, well, did they like that or did they hate it? And like
I
that
mean,
was universally loved that when he showed up, but then when he found he was the boner joke, like people were like, what are you doing? So I'm kind of curious, like maybe that was like him kind of like testing the waters a little bit and seeing
mhm.
where the fandom fell, and clearly the fandom wants
Well, clearly they
Evan
want him
Peters.
back. I mean, he was such a great Quicksilver. Like, I think he made his mark as Quicksilver a lot more staunchly than the MCU actor
But in
who
like
originally played
he,
him.
yeah, I think his name's I can't remember Aaron something, but in his defense, he only did get one movie. Like Evan Peters did get
Mhm.
4 movies, I think, that star in or be in. But even in
I
his
think
first
so.
film, I
Yeah.
thought he did like he
Mhm.
was more of an impression.
Right.
I mean, and also too, it's important to remember like before Feige made or became like started Marvel Studios, he
Mhm.
was really involved with the X-Men films and the Spider-Man films. Like he's been producing Marvel movies for years before Marvel Studios started.
Mhm.
So it's like he has ties to those old movies as well. So it's
Oh,
not like they're
man.
like made completely by someone else.
See, oh God, yeah, I think really a lot of my enthusiasm for the MCU moving forward is definitely with the X-Men because there's just so many X-Men that they could do standalone movies on. They
Yeah,
could do the
it's almost
combined
overwhelming.
films.
It's almost overwhelming how many like amazing things they could do with the X-Men because they've had all this time to like build up all these kind of obscure characters. Like we're
Hmm.
getting down to like C-list Eternals and Shang-Chi and stuff. Like,
Yeah, like the fact that we're getting the Eternal, like I still don't understand like what the fuck they're going to be doing with the Eternals
yeah,
in
no,
the
weird.
MCU. Like the timing of them is, I mean, can be just all over the place, right? So like I can see where Shang-Chi would fit in with things, but like Eternals just has me baffled as to like where the heck they're going to be fitting in all of this.
I mean, once Spider-Man comes out, I think we're gonna have some big heavy hitters because I think it's like Spider-Man, Doctor Strange, and then the new Thor, and then I think it's Guardians after that, maybe.
I think so.
So we're gonna have like some big movies coming out. Like this year is kind of like we're getting lots of content, but it's not like you know A-list content.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I'm just. I mean, I'm really excited, but I'm also, yeah. I think I'm a little nervous about you. Even you talking about Feige leaving. Like kind of building up to his exit. Like, professionally, I want for him to, to spread his wings and fly where he may, right? Like to be able to do what he wants because clearly he's very talented in what he does. Um, but I fear for the MCU without Feige at the helm because I really don't know. Like I don't want Marvel to fall to the same level of DC in terms of quality in terms of these movies and just in the storylines, like how the storylines really just build into each other so well. And like DC has just really, I mean, I'm sure we've talked about this briefly on the podcast before, but like they really just wanted to shoehorn their way into this whole like, oh, we have a superhero team too, and like absolutely botching the hell out of it every step of the way. Like when your greatest hit in terms of like superhero movies is Venom, you have clearly done something wrong.
Well, Venom
And
is Sony, just so you know.
yeah. Oh yeah, no, like or oh yeah, no, you're totally right. Is the Snyder cut of the Justice League. Like
Which I actually really like that movie.
yeah, I'm getting my annoyance with other movie studios mixed up. But because Sony is a thorn in my ass for different reasons, and that like their involvement with the MCU is essentially just like check please, and oh, you want to use Spider-Man? Sure, give us money, and like they don't give a fuck. Like they get so much money off of just owning the license.
Yeah.
But
Um. Yeah.
more to my original point, yeah, like I don't want Marvel falling into the same track as DC at some point down the line.
I kind of feel like I have this like a gut feeling that I'll probably leave after Phase 5. That's just what my feeling is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also kind of have this weird thought too, like we're bringing in Blade, obviously, um, and now we have witches, so we have vampires and witches. And I was kind of curious, so I like looked up like in the Marvel universe they do have a werewolf. He's called Werewolf by Night or something. And
Werewolf
like
by Night.
just like DC, they do have a Frankenstein character. So I think DC's character is quite a bit more fleshed out, but
Mm-hmm.
they do have a Frankenstein character. So they could technically make their own version of like Universal's
The
monster
Dooku,
films.
the DC Universe cinematic universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that I've started reading a or I have a compendium waiting for me. I've started reading the I believe it's the Astonishing Wolfman, who is it's a companion series to the Invincible universe.
Hmm.
So we don't see Wolfman at all in the television show, but he's displayed pretty prominently a number of times in the comics. And it's exactly as it sounds. It's a werewolf superhero.
Yeah.
And but yeah, like they have a lot of flexibility. Well, and while I am really excited for What If. Like I really want to see what they're willing to do with this show.
What
Um,
if they will do? I'm trying to make a
yeah, right.
stupid joke.
I know it's
It isn't
terrible.
gonna work.
Uh, but yeah, like I want to see them take those same risks though with like big screen productions. Like I want them to take a film and do something wacky with characters that are so well established, you know.
I
Um,
feel like Doctor Strange might be that,
mhm.
you know. So,
Yeah, and well, and I think Spider-Man could possibly do that too.
oh man, and by the way, I was wrong about that timeline. I think the new Black Panther movie comes out after Thor. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, I think.
Hmm.
And then there's the Marvels, which it's going to be a movie about Captain Marvel, uh, Miss Marvel, which is the next Disney Plus show. And I think the I can't remember her name right now, but she was in WandaVision. Um,
Oh, shoot,
yeah, I can't remember her name right now.
Monica.
Monica Rambeau, I think.
Yeah, Monica Rambeau.
I can't remember what her like superhero name is.
Yeah, they didn't really even allude to it very much in the show because, like, as far as I'm, or from like my perusing at the time that I remember, like she also has worn the mantle of Captain Marvel before as well.
Yeah,
So,
I believe so. Yeah, I think she may even have done it before, like in the comics before Carol Danvers. I think.
mhm.
Um, and also some other interesting news, like that they're getting back the I can't I'm gonna butcher his name. Vincent D'Onofrio, who played Kingpin in the Daredevil series. Apparently, he's coming
Dude,
back for the Hawkeye show.
yes. Oh my God. Fuck yes. God, he was so good in that. Ah, yes.
And apparently, Charlie Cox, who played Daredevil, is going to be in the new Spider-Man film, as he's going to be defending Peter in court or
Mhm.
something like that.
Yeah, see, I've heard that, and I'm very excited at that notion because, dude, that actor has acted his ass off in that role. Like he is so good as
Yeah,
Matt Murdock in
he
Daredevil.
is Daredevil at this point. You know, I think
Yeah,
Marvel would
like,
be stupid not to have him back.
mhm,
Like I don't know,
like
they'll probably won't be able to acknowledge the the Netflix shows, but
I mean, like I would love for them to bring Jessica Jones and Luke Cage, not Iron Fist, I don't care, um, into the fold. Like, because I think Jessica Jones and Luke Cage were both very solid shows and had like great energies to them that I really enjoyed, like just different feels for the shows. My only complaint being that if you do bring those forward, you do have to bring Iron Fist forward, and I really did not like Iron Fist as a show at all.
yeah. But the thing is, like and I didn't watch the Iron Fist show, but
Mhm.
I do want. I think his name's Finn Jones, right? I think. So I wonder because I liked him fine in Game of Thrones, so I'm just wondering maybe like it was an issue with the show and not with the actor, you know?
Yeah,
But
yeah, I
again,
could
I didn't
definitely.
watch that show. I watched the first season of Daredevil. Hero, yeah. The first season of Daredevil, the first season of Jessica Jones, and half the first season of Luke Cage. And those are the only ones of those I watched.
Oh man, they had some really great talent in Luke Cage and Jessica Jones for that matter. Like it, it was fantastic seeing David Tennant in the role of a villain in Jessica
Yeah,
Jones.
I
Like
thought he was great in that show.
he
Like
was
he was really good, and
amazing.
he was terrifying too. Like just what his power was.
Shoot, then the actor who played Cottonmouth
Is the actor
and
that they got Mahershala Ali, I think,
uh,
who's which he's a great actor.
yeah, he's fantastic. Yeah, he's a great actor.
Yeah,
And
he was in Moonlight, which I believe is what it's called. Very pretentious film, but also very good.
mhm.
I'm trying to think what else he was in. Oh, he was in season 2 of Rami. He was really good in that.
Yeah.
But he's also the new Blade in Marvel.
He's a new Blade. Oh wait, yes he is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's complicated. That kind of makes things a little weird in terms of the Marvel shows.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that all the Marvel TV shows are all like they're not canon anymore. Like that's what it is, or at least if they are, they're like in a different multiverse. You know, like they're
I
not part
mean,
of it anymore.
I would be okay with that. I just want to make sure that. Are you giving him more water before bed? Oh my goodness. Okay. But yeah, like I'm okay with them being relegated to being like multiverse like knockoffs, um, as long as they're able to bring the talent forward, you know,
Yeah.
because yeah, like bringing like Mahershala Ali in, like he's such a great actor. Like I loved him in Luke Cage. Like honestly, I think I was rooting for him a lot more in Luke Cage, like just in
Doesn't
terms
he
of,
get killed like halfway through or something? I seem to recall.
I can't remember off the top of my head, but I
It's like the
think
first
that's the
season.
case.
Yeah.
He's he's just so goddamn good, man. He just has such a great energy. And not to take away from the actor who plays Luke Cage, whose name is
Coleman.
Mike Coulter.
Coulter. Okay.
I think that's why I always forget his name, because he has like kind of a just like a name. But yeah, I did enjoy his performance as Luke Cage, and I do like that show's portrayal of like just some of the older uh like
Oh yeah, because they had like some kind of because that character is sort of like a black exploit man an exploitation except for it's like black exploitation.
black exploitation, yeah, like kind of ends up in that vein, and like some of the like tongue-in-cheek humor on that, and like having a brief cameo of like his old comic book costume in the show is really cool.
Marvel does that a lot actually when you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like
and
they
I
do,
love that.
yeah.
Like, yeah, like with Wanda and her Halloween costume and
Or even
WandaVision,
Loki when they
like,
bring in old Loki.
yeah, like that type of thing I think is really fun, because they're able to acknowledge like where they came from without it being like too ridiculous. Because I don't know, I was looking at some old ass comics. I went to see Black Widow at the Alamo Draft House, and and one of my favorite things they do at those at Alamo is they have like trivia or like little snippets of shows or movies that are relevant to the film you're about to watch, that are like, just like your pre-credit roll, of things. And for Black Widow, they had like a whole long timeline of like Black Widow's appearance in the MCU, but it was also, I think it was honestly B-roll that was being used for like before Endgame was being shown, because it was like a big MCU wrap up of like everything that happened in the MCU, in each movie. But then they also showed like some of the initial appearances of Black Widow. Her costume has changed so much over the years, which I found really funny. But some of her initial appearances were in Spider-Man comics. And man, like Spider-Man's costume has not fucking changed like at all since its original inception.
Yeah,
Like,
that's pretty impressive. It's such an iconic uh, costume. Like they can't change it.
yeah, like you have variations on that costume, but like every single movie that has been made, regardless of the actor, has had that costume. Like it's the red and the blue with the webbing, and it's so iconic, right? Like,
Yeah,
but
it's a damn shame we never got Wolverine in that yellow spandex.
I know, right? I would have even settled for like the brown and yellow like uniform. Not my favorite look, but though I did appreciate in Logan, the sideburn look, like the crazy mutton chop, like
Yeah.
look being temporarily introduced.
Did you see that trailer with Deadpool and Korg, like watching Ryan Reynolds' new film?
Yeah, what a fucking weird way to bring, like, that's technically Deadpool's introduction into the Marvel universe, right? Like by all accounts.
I I don't I guess, but I kind of still feel like it's sort of tongue in cheek. Like I don't. It's,
Well, because I mean, he's hanging out with Korg, which
yeah.
like he's an MCU character, and like not only that, but like that's Taika Waititi. I don't think they had Taika for the actual advert, but
I no, I think they did because
did they? Was that
yeah,
actually?
because he's in the movie with Ryan Reynolds.
Oh,
So
in
yeah,
that
the
movie that
movie. Yeah,
shoot, what is that movie even called?
I can't remember. I'm not gonna see it
say.
probably for what it's
Yeah.
worth.
I mean, I think I'll see it. I like Ryan Reynolds, and it seems like kind of a fun movie, but it definitely doesn't. It does not ring true of a good movie, if I'm entirely honest. But
I guess bringing it back to oh man, I'm gonna just sit down for a second because my back is killing me for some reason.
I'm good.
Just for Black Widow, just like kind of wrapping up this part of the conversation.
Mhm.
Let's see. My back is just what would you end up grading Black Widow, and where would you put it on the scale of like Marvel films?
Oh man. Okay. I think grading of the movie, I would give it a solid 8 out of 10. Yeah. I think 8 out of 10 is fair for that movie. Regarding okay, all MCU movies.
There's quite a few of them. I mean, you don't have to like rank all of them. Just like
No, I'm not gonna rank all of them.
Yeah.
Fuck no. But I am gonna take a look at all of these. Okay, so it looks like these are in order of when they released, which is perfect. Is this all of them? Black Panther, Civil War, Infinity War. Yeah, okay. So like my number one favorite MCU movie is actually Iron Man, the original Iron Man.
I can believe that.
If I had to put Black Widow somewhere amongst these, I'm going to list some of the movies that I know it's better than. It's definitely better than Dark World. It's definitely better than the original Thor. It's definitely better than Ant-Man and the Wasp. Definitely better than Ant-Man. You know, man, I'd probably tie it right there with like Captain America, the First Avenger. Yeah, I think that seems fair.
So
I'm not even entirely sure this is like a complete list of these movies. Are these
probably, I don't know.
list of Marvel films? Okay. Yeah, because it didn't look like a full list.
There's probably like
I guess it's
15, 18 movies at this point.
6, 7,
20,
9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
23 movies. Wow.
24, including Black Widow.
Wow.
And 1,
3 TV shows.
4, 5, 6, 7. That's 3. Yeah, this like I was looking at like an overlay of movies, and this is missing 3 films, and I can't like tell right off the bat what's missing. But yeah, like I still think Winter Soldier is like a better spy movie, but I do think that it sits up there nicely with it as a spy movie. Oh, I think it's definitely better than the Incredible Hulk, like the original. Mind you, Ed Norton. It kind of seems unfair to compare to that because Ed Norton's not really around for this anymore.
Yeah, I don't really even really consider that movie part of the MCU. It's my own headcanon. So
I mean, technically, I don't. You know, I would have sworn in the most recent Shang-Chi trailer that Abomination made an
He
appearance.
is. He is in it. But
Yeah,
I just feel like I just can't make Ed Norton and Mark Ruffalo the same person in my head. I can't do it.
yeah, no, I agree. I think that's a bit of a stretch. Even like the actions taken by Banner in that movie, and just like yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like, I have kind of a soft spot in my heart for that movie because I do really like the Hulk, and I do really like Ed Norton, but I also recognize that Ed Norton's kind of a dickhead from what my understanding of things. Like,
Yeah.
generally, he's not very apparently a very easy man to work with, but but
The proof is in the pudding. I mean, he's in some pretty great films. So
oh yeah, no, he's a fantastic actor. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I definitely can see why he didn't fit in very well with the MCU. But yeah, no, like that's where I would put it, is kind of amidst those level of films, like right up there with Captain America: The First Avenger. And I think looking at this list, like I'd kind of put Captain America 1, Doctor Strange, and Black Widow kind of like all on the same level in terms of quality.
see, I like Doctor Strange. I think it's just because it's so crazy. Like they do and it introduces magic, which I like
Mhm.
that stuff. So I do like that film. I'm not gonna say it's like the best movie ever, but I do like it.
Yeah. No, and I think that's why I put it in the same vein as that, because I think it introduces this huge part of the MCU that had previously been missing. But it just didn't quite grab me the same way some of the other Marvel movies have.
Well, what do you think about it compared to like the new TV shows that have been coming out on Disney Plus?
I mean, it seems like kind of an unfair comparison because, like we mentioned before, those Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and WandaVision they all have run times and numbers of episodes that allow them to explore concepts and characters and to really like build up character over a number of hours past what you're afforded in a film to be able to do. And some movies are able to do that expertly while others don't even fucking bother. um, that being said, if I were to compare Black Widow, I would say that WandaVision's still number one for me, Loki, Black Widow, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like, but that again, like that seems like a very unfair comparison because
Yeah, I guess I was more just wondering like what do you feel the MC movies will like since all these TV shows are coming out
mhm.
on Disney Plus? Do you think it'll like affect the movies going forward? I guess like
Oh,
just the
do
way we're perceiving them.
I don't think so. No, I think I look at Black Widow as more of a swan song than anything, like a last hurrah. Like this Black Widow is like what Dark Phoenix wishes it could have been. Like Dark Phoenix was a not a good movie. I never saw the movie and I refuse to see the
I
movie
have seen
because
it, and honestly, I can barely remember it at all.
yeah, like I
It's
think it's
gone.
just it's not a very good film. Oh my god, this puppy's got them zooms. Um, but yeah, like
I would put that movie on the same level as this one for me.
oh, that's a horrible comparison. No, the reason I say that is because like Dark Phoenix was essentially a movie that got pushed back and was only really released because like why not at this point, you know, like that era of the X-Men was coming to a close because of things happening behind the scenes that had nothing to do with the universe, just all to do with money and licenses exchanging hands. And so it just kind of came out. as it was, and it didn't fit in anywhere, and it wasn't very good as a result.
So
Black
kind of the same
Widow,
thing as that other X-Men movie that came out, the New Mutants. I haven't seen that one, but
yeah, like I want to see that movie only because it's been such a weird mystery in my life for so long. Like I've been seeing trailers for that movie for a while now. I was like, man, I'm kind of excited to see this movie. And then all traces of it just kind of disappeared from the cinema. I was like, what happened to that movie? Was that coming out still? And then all of a sudden it reappeared. And I was like, what? Am I in the same time
yeah,
zone?
it is weird. It's like that. It did come out, but like I just feel like it never really made any sort of impact on anything.
Mhm.
Like I never see like referenced it online or anything.
Yeah, like I I would like to hope that the movie is good enough, but like uh, given the timing of it, I just don't see it really making a splash, you know. Um, but like I think Black Widow is unfortunately a victim of kind of the same problem in that maybe when it originally came out, it would have been more appropriate or apropos, or it would have felt more impactful because we would have just lost Natasha, or it would have seemingly been a lot closer to when we lost her. Um, but because of COVID, it got pushed back so far, and now we've had the new MCU shows on Disney Plus happening. So now Black Widow feels a little out of place as a result. So, um, but that being said, I really do think that Black Widow is a good movie, and I just think that the timing of it is kind of unfortunate.
Hmm.
Um, I
Yeah,
don't know what I would have envisioned for a Black Widow movie myself. Like I had mentioned near the top here, like I um I originally thought Black Widow was going to be a like much more prequel type of movie, like long before she was an Avenger.
yeah. I wonder if they didn't go that route just because just real world aging. You know,
Hmm.
though I guess they did de-age Samuel L. Jackson for what it's worth.
Yeah, but that's a little different. I mean, like the difference between like 10 years on ScarJo versus like 20 to 30 on Samuel L. Jackson, right? Like pretty big difference there. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, no, I'm glad we finally got a Black Widow movie, and I think that what we got was really good. And I almost wish we could have gotten a Black Widow 2, but that would have required it coming out at a much different time,
yeah,
and it because Scarlett Johansson, I think, did a great job. Like her evolution of that character is very much in line, I think, with Thor, like with Chris Hemsworth. Thor was not really that likable of a character, in my opinion, at the
I
beginning.
actually always did kind of like Thor. I
See,
was like, I thought he was just kind of like a boastful idiot, which I kind of liked.
mhm. Mm. Mind you, I still enjoyed the character, but like he just wasn't my favorite, and nor was that my favorite movie. And when they introduced Black Widow in Iron Man 2, um, like she was just kind of the buxom redhead, you know, like her function really was there to just like she was so overtly sexualized in that movie, you know, to the point of kind of being ridiculous. And then for her to be like such a fun comedic character in her own film later on down the road, and even to be such a fun character in Avengers moving forward, you know,
I never
it
really thought of her as a fun character personally.
yeah, like I think her relationship with Steve is really great. I like think that like all of her relationships with the different Avengers are really cool. The ones that we see more of anyway. I think the only thing that ever felt like really weird to me was this weird relationship they kind of tried to force between Black Widow and Banner.
Yeah, that was weird. I feel like that was a Josh Sweden thing. No,
Hmm.
so they did kind of like just sort of forget about it in the later
Yeah,
movies, which I was okay with them not doing
Yeah, I really don't.
Yeah.
I really don't understand that. But
I will say, so I did today. I did watch in the background while I was working, The
mhm.
Quiet Place Part Two on Paramount
Oh,
Plus.
really?
Yeah. Um,
What'd you
yeah, it's all
think?
right. I don't know. I didn't really like the first one that much either. So
Really? I see. I thought the first one was really, really good. I think this part two was also good, but not nearly as like complete of an experience.
yeah, it definitely felt like it was like part two of a trilogy to me.
Yes,
Um,
which is exactly my issues with the season finale of Loki. But moving on.
I just, I just don't get,
Mhm,
I just don't get the monsters in that film. Like they have this technology that they can obviously come from a different planet, I think, but like they have like no brains. Like I just don't understand.
mhm,
I just don't get it. I don't understand the aliens. It just bugs me. I'm like, I don't understand how this is happening. Because obviously you're intelligent enough to
mhm,
design an alien spacecraft to travel between worlds, which we haven't
mhm.
accomplished, but somehow we have a higher intelligence where we can somehow think enough that we can like think more than just like following random sounds that we hear. It's
Well, I don't know. Like
it,
we are assuming in that case that the aliens, the Quiet Place
they're
monsters,
essentially
are
tremors. They're above ground tremors.
yeah.
But that
Well,
makes sense because they're just stupid animals. But like
but
this one, they're like aliens from who obviously traveled here from somewhere else.
but you're assuming in this case that they were the pilots of that ship or that they built that ship.
So maybe
What's
these are
this?
like they who's ever piloting that ship like released them onto the planet to like clear humans out or something.
I don't know. I think they might have crash landed there. Dude, it could have been a circus that accidentally crashed it on Earth for all we fucking know. And those were their attractions. Like,
See, I wish it was just like demons or something. I don't know.
like I like the alien take, and I'm hoping that we get a little bit more clarity on that. Um, with the third film, I'm assuming it's only going to be a trilogy. I hope it doesn't go any further than a trilogy. Um, but yeah, like that was my first thought was not that they were the ones piloting the ship, but that they were passengers on that ship when it crashed, and the people that either piloted it or were in charge of the ship were killed by those creatures on board. Something along those lines. I'm trying to think of like a good movie that would be a good comparison. But yeah, like whether some intergalactic circus or like, like a Han Solo, moving about very dangerous creatures on his ship, in Star Wars. Um, but I think it's something along those lines that these creatures were not supposed to be here, and the people that built and were piloting that vessel didn't want to land on Earth. Something happened and they crashed there, and as a result, the population of Earth is decimated as a result.
I guess what the movie I'm thinking of right now when we're talking about this, which I think is an okay comparison though, vastly different in a lot of ways,
Hmm.
is Signs. Like it used to really bug me that like they couldn't open doors. I'm like, you guys are invading from like who God knows where. Like you always
Hmm.
have technology to get here and you can't open a freaking door. You know, it just really annoyed me. But then like as I've
Hmm.
rewatched that film, to me it's obviously like a religious metaphor and
Hmm.
the water that they couldn't touch, which always bugged me too. I'm like, well, if you don't like water, like why the hell would they come to Earth, which is like mostly water? And why do
Right.
they like people are mostly water? What are they even doing? But I think like there were demons, like there was actually like holy water that they were getting thrown on them.
Right.
So, which I actually really like that movie now. I should rewatch it again. It holds up pretty well. Uh, so who knows? Maybe the third one they'll kind of figure out. Like maybe like when maybe I like this idea. Maybe they like you were using some sort of like you know their ship went like through some sort of warp,
Hmm.
like wormhole. But for whatever reason, like the actual creatures that we see are actually like when they were in the wormhole, like maybe it was like the Jaunt by Stephen King. Maybe they were actually in there for thousands of years or something, and then they kind of like mutated into these like grotesque creatures when they got here or something.
Mhm.
So I can see that. Like, I like that idea because it has kind of like a Event Horizon sort of feel to it.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. It just still kind of bugs me. The whole sound thing. It just I don't get it. It's such a cool idea, but I just don't get the idea. It just bugs me. Okay.
See, no, like I really like the concept of A Quiet Place, and like I was very invested in the movies.
Dude, I love Cillian Murphy too, and he was in the sequel. Like he like obviously played the Scarecrow in the Batman films.
Yeah, so good. He's such a great actor.
But I kind of feel like he just kind of replaced the dad's character from the first one. It's like, well, if you wanted to keep the dad around, then just keep the dad around from the first movie. Like, why are you introducing someone else? It's
Yeah,
basically doing the
well,
same thing.
I don't know. I mean, like to be fair, like the dad in the first movie, um, how am I forgetting that actor's name?
John
Um,
Krasinski, I
John
think.
Krasinski. Yeah, thank you. Um, like he was like he definitely reminded me of like a John Kent or just like a Superman-esque character. He was just like a little too like perfect American homeboy. Um, like the perfect dad, the perfect husband, the perfect caretaker, like he certainly had his own struggles, but he like really never let that show to his children in particular. But um like Killian Murphy's character in A Quiet Place 2 is, pretty like deeply and mentally flawed. um and like the only reason he's ever really much of a good person is because he feels kind of forced into it, like deep down he has those, good intentions, but he's pushed into those into that place more against his will than like John Krasinski would have just done it because he's John Krasinski. Like he would have just done it, he's dad.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, he's obviously her dad too. I mean, he was her dad, so that made a difference. I don't know. Like, I agree with you to a certain extent. I don't really think they really played up that like he was like this evil guy either. I think
Mhm.
he just lost his kids and his wife got sick and died. I don't think he ever did anything like irredeemable.
No, but yeah, he definitely is like he's a reluctant hero
Yep, I'll agree with
for
that.
sure.
Definitely reluctant at first, at least.
Yeah, like he begins to embrace it near the end of the movie, which I think is really appropriate because he's gone on this journey, and
I
but
mean, and
yeah,
this
no,
movie also didn't have like that crazy opening scene where like the little boy gets killed. Like it had
yeah,
nothing similar to that. Where that
where it
was a
really
shocking
dug
moment.
its hooks into you right away, right?
Kind of
Like,
like in Hereditary where they kill off that little girl at the beginning and you're just not expecting it.
mhm.
Which
Yeah.
Hereditary is a great film. You need to be in a certain mental place to watch that one.
but yeah, no, yeah, I really enjoyed A Quiet Place too. I saw that, yeah, at, like I said, the Alamo with my in-laws, and like I didn't really know what was going on the whole time, but I liked it. It's like you guys told me you saw the first movie.
In all fairness, I have seen the first movie, but it's been a
Mhm.
while. So it's not like I can't remember like everything that happened in it. But I
But
also finished up a show called Cobra Kai,
oh,
which
sure.
I loved that show. I thought it was amazing. Like I
Mhm.
love that show. It's so good. I don't
Mhm.
know if you've seen it or not, but
Mhm.
highly recommend it. I
I've
won't go into it. You should watch it though.
Yeah, I've been to, or I've been told to watch that show, and I've definitely considered it.
Yeah,
But
it's
yeah,
good. The
right.
thing that'll help you is the first few episodes. Like they start off like only like 20 minutes a piece, which to me like really helps me watch stuff.
Yeah, longer shows can be kind of a challenge.
Yeah, the 40-minute mark. I also tried to watch Sweet Tooth. If you've heard of that,
Mhm.
it's on
Yes.
Netflix. It's based off
Hmm.
a comic book by
Is that episodic or is that a movie?
it's episodic. There's like 8 episodes.
Oh, it is
I watched the
episodic.
first episode.
Okay.
It was pretty good.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna watch any more of it. I don't think, but
Yeah, like my wife and I are in the midst of uh of The Expanse. Like we've been watching The Expanse now for quite a while.
I heard it's
And
excellent. I haven't seen it.
oh, dude, you would love The Expanse. It is
I've tried twice and I can never get through the first few episodes. I just am like too bored.
really, really. Oh man, like I really get into the deep sci-fi atmosphere quite quickly, and once you get into, I didn't nickel for every time someone told me. Once you get into season two, it's great. But I really think this show finds its legs in season two moving forward. We're currently in season four, I think, or three. Yeah, three. I think we're in season three still. But it has been really fantastic. I really enjoyed the development of the characters
Isn't the
and
main character from Montana too, right?
yeah, no, it's a weird world where yeah, like he's from Montana, but like he came from like this type of like kind of commune type farm thing where like he had like a dozen mothers essentially. Like one of them was kind of like truly his mom, but
Huh.
like he came from like a very large family in that like
Yeah,
uh
it's probably Missoula in a few years.
yeah. Yeah, no, like it's an interesting world. I really enjoy the struggles between Earth, the Belters, and Mars, like has, coalitions that are, they're all human, but they all have their different goals. Like Mars has this mission of, turning Mars into a utopia for humanity. And for Martians, they consider themselves Martians more than they consider themselves, Earthlings. And like an Earth is just kind of struggling to keep the balance, to keep the planet, from, imploding on itself with the massive populations there. And then the Belters are like these people without, without a home, more or less out in the middle of space. Like they've never felt, dirt in their between their toes,
Yeah.
and they resent, Martians and, Earthlings for that very reason. Um,
Well, you're making it sound really awesome. I should definitely watch this.
no, yeah, like I would highly recommend it. I think once you get past those episodes, I think you'll really start to enjoy the characters because I don't know. I didn't have a hard time with the beginning of the show myself, but I will say that I've really grown attached to a lot of the characters. And like I don't know, in particular, I can say right off the bat that you'll really enjoy Amos, like moving forward. Like
Amos?
yeah, Amos is his name.
Is he the
Um
one played by like Thomas Jane? Like the detective?
no, that is not him. The actor's name is okay, Google, you're really doing me dirty here. It's actor. He West Chatham? Chatham?
Chatham. How Amos Expanse actor. Do I recognize this guy? Wes Chatham. No, I do not.
Was he in Tenant? Really?
He was in the Hunger Games, apparently.
Oh, he was just like a random SWAT guy in Tenant. Okay. But
I've not seen Tenet yet, actually.
I really want to watch that movie because I mean, obviously it's a Christopher Nolan movie. How could you
Yeah, I've
not?
heard mixed things from it though. I still have not seen Dunkirk either.
Boy, that's a deep cut to this point, isn't it? That came out.
Yeah, I kind of got tired of Christopher Nolan films. Actually, it just kind of became like a little bit too like monotone or something. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. Like, if you enjoy too much of a good thing, it
Yeah,
can get
I
it
just
can
for
feel
some
bad,
reason
right?
Inception kind of annoyed me. I felt like people were like thought it was like the best thing ever, and I'm like I watched it, like it's pretty good, but like why are people like think it's like the best movie. I feel like this has been done better other places. Like this kind of idea of like dream world. And then like
Mhm.
Interstellar came out, which I saw and I thought it was good, but I kind of just sort of forgotten about it. Like I don't remember much about what happened in it. And
See,
then
I only
Dunkirk. Yeah, sorry.
no, like I only very recently saw Interstellar, like within the last 3 months, and and I did think it was a good movie, but like it definitely just reeked of a Christopher Nolan movie. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
like he has a
Like,
very particular way of like making a movie. You can always tell it's him,
yeah,
which
you
isn't
really
a bad
can.
thing. But
Like,
I mean, I just yeah,
it's how the characters deliver their lines. It's how the soundtrack hits in the
yeah, like
moments
the
of
Hans
those.
Zimmer, like bah.
Yes, like 100%. Like, and it's not bad. It's not like it's great. It's great filmmaking, but it is his signature. So if you're really like into Christopher Nolan, you see his movies every time they come out, and it's kind of like, oh, this is really a Chris Nolan movie, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
um, but but yeah, I thought Interstellar was fine, but I do agree with you on Inception. Like, I think everyone like had their nose so firmly like planted
yeah,
in the cheeks of that movie, and were just uh,
basking in it.
basking in it so much. Yeah, that I was just like, I mean, it was a fun movie. It was a fun movie. I don't think it was an amazing movie though. Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was fine.
I feel like South Park did a pretty sufficient job of
I
making
was
fun
thinking the
of that
same
film.
thing.
Like,
Like, yeah, I'm not a
but
hoarder. I'm a sheep herder.
yeah,
And there's like that guy like bah. I can't remember. Yeah, I
but
should rewatch. That was pretty funny episode.
but
I was also gonna
uh,
say too. I don't know if you saw it, and then we can probably wrap this thing up. I think we've been going for
mhm,
quite a while.
yeah,
The Dune trailer came out. I don't know if you saw that or not, but
no, I'm kind of purposely staying away from the Dune stuff. Like, I want to see that movie. I have very little contact with anything Dune related.
I started to read it
Hmm.
sometime last year, and I got into like the first 100 pages, and then like I just couldn't do it. Like I just lost interest. It was not what I was expecting. It almost reads more like a young adult novel, where I was kind of expecting like a because I had just finished like Hyperion, the Hyperion Cantos by Dan Simmons, and I read like the
Hmm.
Olympos, that those two, that duology. And it was just written in such a different way. I just was expecting Dune to be kind of like the same way, and I just couldn't get into it. But I need to give another shot because I know those books are like beloved, and there's so many amazing quotes that are from those novels that, and it's just bizarre, like these giant sandworms, like people merging with the sandworms. It's like I don't even understand it, but
Hmm.
like what the hell, you know? It's just weird.
Are you familiar with the Red Rising series?
Mm-mm.
If you're looking for some sci-fi that you might enjoy, I think Red Rising might be up your alley.
What's it
Um,
about?
um, Dystopian science fiction novel by American author Pierce Brown in the first book, and eponym of a series. Novel set on a future planet Mars follows low-born miner Darrow as he infiltrates the ranks of the elite Golds. Red Rising has received generally positive reviews. That's what
Have you
Wikipedia
read
has
it?
to say. No, so Evans read the whole series as it is right now and has very much enjoyed it. And it was recommended to her by some friends back in Montana. Um, and generally has been received really, really well. Like, but I do fear that if you're not looking for young adult reading, that this might fall into that camp. But it might be something worth checking into if you're interested.
I mean, I don't really have anything against young adult reading. I just
Mhm.
was expecting something else, I think. Um,
Yeah, well, because
and
Dune is one of those things that's kind of like it's revered, right?
and
Like as
I started listening to Light of the Jedi too, like the High
mhm.
Republic.
Oh,
Because I got like a Audible for like a month, which I need to remember to cancel it. And
mhm.
I'm just having a tough time getting into that too. I don't know. What's wrong with me recently?
See, you're
But
gonna regret that sentence when we're sponsored by Audible. Today's episode is brought to you by.
I mean, like, I love the idea of the High Republic. I actually think it's really cool. But
Hmm.
and Charles Soule, who wrote the book, I've actually met him. I met him at the Comic Con when he came, and I got something autographed by him.
That's cool.
And like, I love like his Swamp Thing, and like he did a good job with um, Star Wars, and what else did he do? Definitely Swamp Thing. Like his Swamp Thing was great, and he's written
Hmm.
his own like Darth Vader series, which is pretty good.
Sure.
But yeah, I really like Charles Soule. I just could not get in. I'm just having a tough time getting into that book.
Hmm.
But the idea behind it's pretty sweet. I don't know if you know what it is, but basically they're just like getting um what the time period's like 200 years before the prequels, and they're just kind of like getting like the hyperspace travel set up, and I might be, it's probably light speed.
Hmm.
But like this cruiser is basically like sabotaged when it's at light speed, and then it breaks apart, and then like the pieces of it are like headed towards this space system going at light speed, and then they have to try and stop it from hitting this sun and planet. And like these pieces are going, it's like a disaster novel essentially.
Hmm.
Kind of a cool idea.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
but apparently I'm having a tough time getting into it for what it's worth.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it sounds interesting. I mean, I'm always down for more Star Wars, but yeah, I know that I have historically had a hard time getting into extended Star Wars universe stuff, um, in almost any context, um, like whether it be reading or shows. Like Bad Batch is a good example of that. Like I still need to finish Bad Batch. Um, like we briefly discussed Bad Batch a little bit on the podcast, but like it was one of those things that
It's kind of a hard
um,
show to discuss in a way, and I haven't been necessarily impressed with the last few episodes that have come out, so I don't really think you're missing that much currently.
yeah, it's one of those things that like I think was going to have its ups and downs regardless.
It's made for
And
kids, and like if you've seen
mhm,
Clone Wars or Rebels, like you kind of know what you're getting yourself into. There's a lot of like kind of mediocre episodes of those shows, and
yes,
this one is the same. You know,
is no different.
yeah,
But oh man, every time we talk about this sci-fi stuff, like you need to play the Mass Effect Legendary Collection. Like you need to play Mass Effect, period. That's seriously
yeah.
a series that you will love so much.
You should put it on the Switch. It's the only one I got.
Ah, man, we gotta upgrade your hardware, man. Like if you
I just
had
gotta get cards.
if you had a Switch and a PC, not even like a full tower, like if you had a like a gaming laptop or something, like you would be set for the time being. Like like either get an Xbox Series X or a PS5 or something. Uh like get in line on those consoles, but like Mass Effect would be so your jam. Like story driven sci-fi, you get to have like alien sex, like it's the best. It's so good. Like
Oh wow.
yeah, I mean now I'm talking your language, right? See?
I mean, that's one thing that Animal Crossing does not have. I will grant you that.
Mhm. Oh, against that interspecies mating. How dare they?
Well, I mean, they do have alternate species in that game, but
Yeah.
I don't know if you can mate with them.
Yeah. Not yet. That'll be in a future patch.
Yeah.
Uh, but at any rate, we have gone so far off the rails from the original topic.
Yeah. This is like our
Um,
longest episode yet. I think.
this is ridiculous. I would like to thank everyone for coming and listening to this episode of the Nerds of the North podcast, episode number 17. Look at us. We're out here, well, me drunkenly ranting about Black Widow and Mass Effect.
Oh, you can take that back about the Scarlet Witch and robot lover.
Robot lover. But no, thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate you listening, our small but dedicated audience that will someday exist, and we'll might even have that Audible sponsorship at some point. But at any rate, thank you all for joining us, and And Nick, unless you have anything else to add.
The only thing I need to add is that this was a great conversation, Matt, and you really added a lot to my knowledge. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I do what I can. I am but a simple nerd farmer
nerd
tilling his
farm,
fields.
nerd farm. All right. And I appreciate everyone that listens to this, especially you. You know who I'm talking about. It's you. And I've really appreciated you listening in, and I hope to see you soon. All right, bye.
And